My husband left me for my sister, and the worst part was that my own parents told me to forgive them. The day I found out, I thought my world had ended. I remember standing in the kitchen, holding his phone in my hand, staring at messages that should never have existed. Words of love, plans to meet in secret, promises whispered between two people who had no right to betray me that way. My first reaction was disbelief. I kept reading, convinced my eyes were lying. But every sentence cut deeper, every emoji, every "I love you" was a dagger twisting in my chest. And then it sank in. The two people I trusted most had been conspiring behind my back, and I confronted them both that night. He didn't even deny it. She stood there with her arms crossed, as if I was the one intruding. The betrayal was so raw, so complete, that my legs nearly gave out beneath me. My name is Emily, and I am 34 years old. I had been married for nearly 10 years, and I thought I had built a life rooted in love, loyalty, and trust. But in one night, it all crumbled. My husband chose my sister, and my parents chose peace over justice, demanding that I bury the pain and accept the unforgivable. I didn't know then that the nightmare was only beginning. The morning after the confrontation, I drove to my parents' house, desperate for comfort, for someone to tell me I wasn't losing my mind. I needed them to stand with me, to remind me that betrayal had consequences. Instead, I found them sitting at the kitchen table with my sister. My husband wasn't there, but his absence didn't make me feel any safer. My mother reached for my hand as I sat down, her voice calm in a way that made my stomach twist. "Emily," she said softly, "we know this is hard for you. But you have to try to understand, love doesn't always happen the way we expect it to." I blinked at her, my mouth dry. "Are you telling me I should accept this? That my husband sleeping with my sister is something I should just forgive?" My father leaned forward, his tone stern, almost rehearsed. "You've always been too dramatic. Families survive because they forgive. Your marriage wasn't perfect, and maybe he found something he needed in her. What matters is that we stay united." I stared at them in disbelief. My parents weren't comforting me. They were defending them. My sister sat smugly in her chair, her eyes downcast but a faint smile tugging at her lips, as though she was already being crowned the winner. "You want me to forgive?" I hissed, my voice cracking. "Forgive the man who swore to love me? Forgive my sister, who betrayed me in the cruelest way possible? You're asking me to erase myself just to make you comfortable." My mother's expression hardened. "We're asking you to put family first. Don't let pride destroy what's left." In that moment, I realized something devastating. I wasn't just fighting my husband and my sister. I was fighting the very people who had raised me, who should have been protecting me, and for the first time in my life, I felt completely alone. 2 weeks later, after sleepless nights and endless tears, I walked into a lawyer's office with my hands trembling. The betrayal was still raw, but the decision was clear. I couldn't stay married to a man who had chosen my sister over me. The lawyer, a calm man named Mr. Harlan, listened quietly as I explained. When I was finished, he slid a folder across the desk. "If you're certain, Emily, these are the first steps. Divorce papers. We'll begin proceedings immediately." The sight of those papers made my stomach turn. 10 years of love, memories, holidays, and promises, all reduced to a stack of documents and legal terms. My hand shook as I signed my name, each letter feeling like a wound reopening. That night, when I handed the papers to my husband, he barely flinched. He looked at me with a kind of cold detachment I had never seen before. "I knew this was coming," he said flatly. "Honestly, it's for the best. You were never really happy, were you?" His words hit harder than any punch. "Not happy," I whispered. "I was building a life with you. I gave you everything, and you threw it away for her." He shrugged, as if my pain was irrelevant. "Laura makes me feel alive in a way you never did." Laura, my sister. Hearing her name on his lips like that was unbearable, I left his house that night with a hollow chest and shaking hands. The papers were signed, the wheels were turning, and there was no turning back. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about divorce anymore. This was about betrayal that had cut through blood and vows alike. and the fight was only beginning. The news spread quickly, as it always does in families. Within days, everyone knew my husband had left me for my sister, and I had filed for divorce. I expected outrage, sympathy, maybe even silence. What I didn't expect was the division that followed. My aunt called me first, her voice trembling. "Emily, I don't know what to say. I love you, but your parents are saying you're overreacting. That you should just accept it and move on. They've even invited him and your sister to dinner." The words hit me like a slap. "They what?" I asked, my throat tightening. "They say it's to keep peace," she whispered. "But it doesn't feel like peace. It feels like betrayal all over again." Soon, cousins began reaching out, some taking my side, horrified by what had happened. Others, influenced by my parents, urged me to be the bigger person. My own family tree was cracking down the middle, branches snapping under the weight of gossip and loyalty. The breaking point came one Sunday afternoon when I walked into my parents' house unannounced. I froze in the doorway. There they were, my sister and my soon-to-be ex-husband, sitting at the dining table as if nothing was wrong. My mother served them roast chicken, smiling, while my father poured wine. The sight made my chest ache. I stood there, invisible in my own family home, watching them embrace the people who had destroyed me. Finally, I spoke, my voice shaking.
"So this is it?"
"You've chosen them over me." My father set down the wine bottle, his tone calm but cold. "We haven't chosen sides. We're choosing family unity. If you can't handle that, maybe you need space."
Space.
That single word felt like exile. My parents weren't protecting me. They were pushing me out, making room for the ones who had betrayed me. I walked out of that house without looking back, tears blurring my vision. For the first time, I realized that my battle wasn't just with my husband and my sister. It was with the very foundation of the family I had once believed in, and I knew this was only going to get uglier. If divorce alone hadn't been enough to rip my heart apart, the custody battle finished the job. My husband and I had a 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Sweet, curious, and full of life. She was the only piece of my marriage I still cherished. When my lawyer first mentioned custody, I assumed it would be straightforward. I was her mother. I was the one who took her to school every morning, read her bedtime stories, sat up with her through fevers. But then the papers arrived. My husband was demanding joint custody. And worse, he wanted Lily to spend half her time in the house where my sister lived. I felt the air leave my lungs. How could I let my daughter be raised in the middle of that twisted betrayal? The first custody hearing was brutal. His lawyer painted him as a stable, loving father who simply found a more compatible partner. My blood boiled as they casually referred to my sister as part of Lily's support system. When it was my turn, I told the judge the truth. "Your Honor, this isn't just about custody. This is about exposing my daughter to a toxic situation where family betrayal is normalized. How can I co-parent with a man who abandoned his vows to run into the arms of my sister?" The judge listened carefully, but reminded me that personal betrayal and parenting were two separate matters. That distinction cut deep. It felt like the system was blind to the emotional chaos Lily would face. Outside the courtroom, my husband smirked at me. "You can't keep her from me, Emily. And sooner or later, she'll see Laura as family too." Laura, my sister. The thought of my daughter growing up calling her auntie one day and stepmom the next made me physically sick. That night, I held Lily as she slept, her little hand curled around mine. I swore silently that I would fight tooth and nail to protect her, not just from losing me, but from being swallowed by the poisonous lie my family was now trying to make normal. The divorce was painful enough. But the custody fight? That was war. The custody battle dragged on for weeks, each hearing draining me a little more. I felt like I was constantly defending myself while my husband and my sister sat smugly side by side, pretending their affair was some twisted version of true love. But then, one night, fate handed me something I hadn't expected, proof that I was going through old emails, looking for school documents for Lily, when I stumbled on a thread my husband had forgotten to delete. It was between him and my sister, dated months before our separation. They weren't just talking about their feelings, they were talking about money. He had transferred several $1,000s from our joint savings account into hers, months before he admitted the affair. They had even joked about how I would never notice because I was too busy being a mom. My hands shook as I read, ball rising in my throat. They hadn't just betrayed me emotionally, they had conspired financially, stealing from the very home they helped destroy. The next morning, I handed the printed emails to my lawyer. Her eyes widened. Emily, this changes everything. This isn't just infidelity, it's financial misconduct. The court won't look kindly on him using marital funds to support an affair. And your sister being directly involved? That only strengthens your position. The following hearing was electric. When my lawyer presented the emails, my husband's smug expression finally cracked. My sister's face went pale, her lips pressed into a thin line as the judge leaned forward, his tone sharp. Mr. Daniels, do you deny that these funds were moved without your wife's consent? He stammered, trying to explain, but the judge cut him off. This is not simply a divorce case anymore. This borders on fraud. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt the ground tilt back in my favor. My husband avoided my eyes as the judge ordered a financial review of all accounts. My sister glared at me, her fury barely contained, but beneath it I saw something else. Fear. Walking out of that courtroom, I took a deep breath of cold air and whispered to myself, finally. For once, the truth wasn't just on my side. It was visible. It happened in my parents' living room of all places. I had gone there to pick up Lily after she spent the afternoon with them, thinking it would be quick and quiet. But the moment I walked in, I saw her, my sister, sitting on the couch as if she owned the place. Her smile was sharp. Enjoying your little courtroom victories? She asked, her voice dripping with venom. I clenched my fists. I'm not enjoying any of this. But at least the truth is finally coming out. She stood, her eyes blazing. Truth? You mean your twisted version of it?
You've always been jealous of me, Emily.
That's what this is really about. You couldn't stand that he chose me. Her words cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Jealous. I hissed. You stole my husband, destroyed my marriage, and turned our parents against me. Do you really think there's anything here for me to envy? My parents rushed in, alarmed by the shouting. My mother tried to calm us down, but I was too far gone. Years of hurt, betrayal, and lies erupted all at once. You're not my sister anymore. I spat. You're nothing to me. For the first time, her confidence cracked. Her eyes glistened, but she masked it with anger.
Fine.
Then stop pretending you want this family. Take your daughter, take your pity, and get out of our lives. The silence afterward was suffocating. My father looked away, ashamed, while my mother's lips trembled with words she couldn't speak. I grabbed Lily's hand and walked out, my chest heaving, tears burning my eyes. It felt like a door had slammed shut behind me, not just to my parents' house, but to the sisterhood I once thought was unbreakable. That night, as Lily slept in her bed, I sat in the dark and realized something chilling. I hadn't just lost a marriage. I had lost my family. And no court ruling could ever fix that. The courtroom was packed on the day of the final hearing. My hands trembled as I held my lawyer's notes, my stomach twisting with dread. Months of betrayal, battles, and tears had led to this single moment. The judge began with the divorce settlement. His voice was steady, firm. Given the evidence of financial misconduct, Mr. Daniels is ordered to repay the funds withdrawn from the joint account. In addition, Mrs. Daniels is awarded a greater share of the marital assets. I exhaled shakily, relief washing through me. But the real weight hung on what came next: custody. The judge shuffled the papers before him. This court has reviewed all testimonies and evidence. While both parents are deemed fit, the court cannot ignore the instability created by Mr. Daniels' actions. Therefore, primary custody of Lily will be granted to Mrs. Daniels. Mr. Daniels will receive visitation rights under a structured schedule. My knees nearly buckled. Primary custody. The words felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. My husband's jaw tightened, his knuckles white against the table. My sister, sitting just behind him, muttered something under her breath, her face pale with rage. The judge wasn't finished. As for the involvement of Ms. Laura, while her relationship with Mr. Daniels is not illegal, it is deeply inappropriate in this context. The court strongly discourages exposure of the child to this relationship at this time. Gasps rippled through the room. My sister's face flushed crimson, her composure shattering. For once, she had no smug smile, no words to throw at me. The gavel struck. This case is closed. I sat frozen, tears spilling silently down my cheeks. I hadn't just survived. I had won. Not everything, not everyone, but enough. Enough to protect my daughter, enough to reclaim my life. As I walked out of that courtroom, Lily's small hand slipped into mine. For the first time in months, I felt steady again, but I knew the war at home wasn't over because my parents still believed forgiveness was the answer. A week after the verdict, my parents called me over. I should have known better, but a part of me still hoped they'd finally see the truth, that they would stand beside me now that the court had spoken. Instead, I walked into their living room and felt the chill immediately. My sister was there, sitting with her arms crossed, and my father's face was set like stone. My mother cleared her throat, her voice trembling but firm. "Emily, this fighting has gone on long enough. We can't live like this. You need to let go of the anger and accept your sister and him. Families survive because they forgive." I blinked at her, my chest tightening. Forgive? After everything they've done? After betraying me, stealing from me, dragging me through court? You want me to bring my daughter into that and pretend it's normal? My father leaned forward, his voice sharp.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you're the one tearing this family apart. We can't keep choosing sides. If you refuse to reconcile, then maybe you shouldn't come around anymore. The words hit me harder than any gavel strike. So, you're giving me an ultimatum? Forgive them or lose you. Silence hung in the air like smoke. My sister smirked, satisfied, while my parents avoided my eyes. I stood slowly, my voice shaking but clear. Then you've already made your choice. You chose them the moment you defended their betrayal. Don't you dare put this on me. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't speak. My father just looked away. I walked out of their house for the last time, Lily's hand in mine, my heart shattered but resolute. That day, I understood something I had resisted for months. Sometimes family doesn't just fail you. They abandon you willingly, and all that's left is the strength to keep walking without them. It has been months since I walked out of my parents' house for the last time. I haven't heard from them since, and honestly, I don't expect to. My sister and my ex-husband can have each other, if that's what they call love. What they don't have is me, or my daughter, at first. The silence was unbearable. I mourned not just my marriage, but the family I thought I had. I grieved for parents who chose comfort over truth, for a sister who traded blood for betrayal, and for a husband who threw away a decade for something shallow. But slowly, I began to rebuild. Piece by piece, I found strength in places I didn't know I had. Lily became my anchor. Her laughter, her questions, her tiny hand in mine reminded me every day why I kept fighting. I may have lost a husband, a sister, and even my parents, but I never lost myself. And I never lost her. If you've listened to my story until now, thank you. I want to leave you with this. Betrayal hurts, but clinging to people who don't value you hurts even more. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go, even when it's your own family. Take it from me. Protect your heart, protect your peace, and never let anyone convince you that forgiveness means erasing yourself. And if my story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share your thoughts below. Because no one should have to walk through betrayal alone. And maybe, just maybe, my story can remind you that you're stronger than you think.